Hello. Want to make a artifact tier list for Night Challenge, and similar to the one tier list, um, it's gonna be a similar context where um, early game artifacts are gonna be valued more than late game artifacts. So I'm not gonna repeat all that, and I'll just get right to it. Um, so first thing to talk about is the Alchemist toolkit. I think a lot of people don't really appreciate this artifact that much because all it does is give you uh, it just gives you 24-hour access to an alchemy pot and just gives you more energy, but it's actually quite good because um, in a game without this, normally you get a power spike whenever you enter a an alchemy pot, and having this alchemist toolkit just basically, like, you don't need the power spike anymore because you always have access to that resource. You don't have to backtrack, so it saves up on food. It's pretty easy to level up too, um, and it just pays itself. Like the cost to upgrade this is like 6 energy per level, but in the long term you do get the energy back, and you don't even have to play for the long term. You can just keep it at +0, and it will still provide you a lot of utility just to like have access to the alchemy pot and even have some extra tiny bit of energy. And I think this is like a B tier. I think in the late game, this isn't really like the what do you call it? The access to the alchemy pot isn't that important in the late game because you have beacon, so it's pretty easy to backtrack to the alchemy pot. But in the early game, it's very valuable. And like, let's say just like a scenario here, you can have like um, both liquid flame and frost potion in the same inventory, and given the situation, you can craft either one. You can like energize the frost and then craft a dragon's breath, or you could do the other way around where you uh, energize the fire pot to create a snap freeze. So it's like there's some uh, versatility there, depending on the situation you're in. So it's quite good in the early game, but even in the late game, it generates you so much energy uh, because eventually you'll get to +10, and uh, it eventually just pays for itself, and you'll get a surplus amount of energy. This was really good, um, but I don't think it's the best artifact. It's not bad, so I think it will. I think it's fair to put this in B tier. I'm not really sure what rankings each of these should get, but I have a general idea. Uh, but these might move around. Okay, next up is Chalice. Um, Chalice, all it does is it gives you regen. That's all. Pretty straightforward. If you have mystical energy, it just heals you for some amount over time, as long as you're not hungry, or as long as you're not starving. Um, and in order to level this, you need to prick yourself. Eh, I think this is good, but I don't think it's that impactful. I think it is impactful actually, but I think the cost to level it is quite steep. It really depends on which hero you're choosing. For instance, um, Huntress, for example, doesn't really have any way to negate the prick damage because she doesn't have shielding. Um, I guess if you're Warden, you can kind of uh, use the bark skin to negate some of the damage, but in general, like usually you're going sniper anyway, so there's not really a way to negate the damage. And in that case, I think for Huntress, I don't think Chalice is. It might be hard to upgrade Chalice as Huntress. Like let's say you're priest or something, or mage, or cleric mage, whatever, who has access to like huge amount of shielding, lay on hands, or shield barrier is amazing. Chalice is pretty easy to level up. Although I would say mage isn't really needed if he's going warlock. So I think Chalice is not even that good on mage, or once you become warlock, like this is kind of just okay. Um, I think it's quite a good early game artifact. Um, because it's easy to get to +3, and then beyond that is kind of hard. But +3 does give you a lot of HP. I do. I remember like not liking this a lot before because of the expensive prick cost, but I think I have changed my mind on it. I've kind of flip flopped on it, and right now I think it's a solid artifact. Not really game changing or anything. I think for now we put it in C tier. We'll move this around later on because I'm not really sure. I just know the kind of the general order of these artifacts. Okay, next is Rose, Dried Rose. So Dried Rose is, I would say, one of the best artifacts, one of the strongest artifacts. I know for sure which one's number one strongest, but I think Rose is up there. Um, so Rose, I know a lot of people hate it because it's very micromanagey, um, and it just makes your run a lot longer if you're willing to micromanage. Because you're controlling two characters, you're basically like you're almost like making your game twice as long as you're controlling two characters at the same time. But if you're willing to do that, which I'm assuming you are, um, you basically have a doubled health pool. You basically have doubled um, damage output. Melee damage output is doubled, yet uh, defense is doubled. Regen is doubled. Like it's insane how good this artifact is. It's so much so that I think um, like Rose is just better Chalice because Rose like also regens for you kind of. Um, Rose also has some of the best um, traits of each of artifacts. Like for example, it automatically upgrades. The two we've talked about, this one upgrades through energy, and this one you have to self-inflict damage. Rose, you just explore and it just levels it by itself. Um, another really positive trait is it starts off at 100%. Now, Chalice is like there's no like charges on this, and it doesn't really make sense to talk about charges for the Alchemist toolkit, but you'll see in the later artifacts that we're going to be talking about, not all of them start at 100%. And yeah, so Rose automatically upgrades. You don't even need to equip it to upgrade it. Automatically upgrades, starts at 100%, and recharges through time. Like those three very good traits to have as artifacts. And on top of that, the effect is so insanely strong. Like you double health, double attack, and also it also allows you to create infinite distance basically, as long as the enemy is not fast, because you can just use the rose, use the ghost to take aggro from you, and you can just keep circling around in one spot with Rose, with the ghost, while you do your range attack. And yeah, it's just insane. Like this is one of the artifacts you want to buy from shops. And yeah, I think this deserves an A tier. I don't think it's quite an S tier, but it's close to that. I think Rose is a really strong artifact. Okay, well, now let's get into Ethereal Chains. So Ethereal Chains, um, let's go through the traits again. So it auto upgrades, but you do have to wear it. It starts out with 5 charges, recharges by time, and also by XP, all of which are good traits. Like you can, those are like the best traits of artifacts. On top of that, on top of that, just like Blast Wave, this thing can one-shot non-flying enemies as long as there's a chasm and you have like a 2 tile distance from the enemy. You can just one-shot enemies easily with this at a cost of 1 charge. And if you've played with this artifact, charges are pretty easy to gain. And so you pretty much can one-shot all. Like if you go to prisons, right? Chains basically solves prisons. There are no flying enemies. Skeleton explosions don't hit you if you one-shot them through chasms. Guards can chain you, but you can just chain away by pulling yourself to a wall. And you can just one-shot guards too. You can like just chasm kill them, and they're one of the most threatening enemies in the game. And you can just one-shot them with chains. You can escape in any situation. You're basically cheating. You're cheating. You're like escaping any bad situation. You are killing. You're like one-shotting everything. Like it recharges by itself. Like this is just stupidly broken, and I think that deserves a nest here. One of the most disgustingly strong artifacts, or even items. Like I think Chains is the best item in the entire game. Like the best, like Like if you were to ask me like what's the best item, I would say Chains is the best item in the game. Okay, next up is Horn. Now Horn, let's go through the traits again. In terms of leveling, you need to feed it food, quite expensive, but at the same time, it kind of pays for itself, right? When you feed it food, it will give you more food back. So, is it really that much of a cost? It's not really that much of a cost, unless you are planning to transmute this for whatever reason. Second, how many charges does it start out with? Total charges is 5, but it starts out 0. So when you get it, it's not really doing anything for you. But I think it's fine for this artifact because the purpose of this artifact is to uh, kind of sustain you through um, food and meal talents. So I think for this particular artifact, that doesn't really matter too much. Um, and in order to recharge this, you need to gain XP. Um, it's not as good as like time recharging artifacts like these two, but you know, gaining charges by XP is not that bad. It's not as bad as some of these. So I think the power of this horn depends really on the hero you pick. Like for example, if you're a warrior, you want horn is good because you can activate the hearty meal talent and the iron stomach. Or if you're mage, you want the uh, one recharge food talent, and so on and so forth. It turns out, like, if you look at all 6 heroes, all of their meal talents are actually broken. Like, very, very strong. It's like a must take every run. So, like, it turns out Horn is very strong on all characters. Maybe stronger on some than others, but end of the day, like, even the weakest one will still want this. And at the same time, it eliminates the on die challenge. So if you do get this artifact, you're basically playing with 8 challenges, which is really good. So it's a pretty solid artifact. I think this deserves to go in A tier. Um, because meal talents in this game are extremely strong already, even without horn. And if you have horn, it's even stronger. Like it's even like really strong, basically. Um, when you get horn and you stabilize, you pretty much win. And horn even helps you stabilize. So yeah, really, just a really good artifact. Okay, now Armband. Hey, let's go through the 3 traits again. So Armband uh, levels up as you use it. So it's kind of different from the automatic level ups. Like Chains levels up by XP, which is basically automatic. Um, Horn levels up by feeding it food. This one levels up as you use charges. However, um, the second trait, it starts out at 0 out of 5 charges. So when you get the artifact, it's not actually doing anything yet until you have enough charges. And to gain charges, you need to gain XP. So this is not actually the easiest artifact to recharge because it starts out at 0, and to level it, you need to keep using it, and it regains charges by gaining XP. So, yes, its effect is very powerful, but recharging is definitely a problem. The effect is really powerful though, because cripple and blind basically means you kill the enemy, basically. If you have a reasonable damage output. But it's melee and it's instant. Quite strong. I want to put this in A, but I just don't think this is as strong as these two. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put this in B, and I think toolkit doesn't deserve to be in B tier, so I'm gonna push it down to C. I don't think toolkit is as strong as Master Thief's Armband. So yeah, I'll push it down. All right. Footwear of Nature. Sandal. It's like sandals, shoes, boots. I can't remember what it was. Is it sandals? Sandals, shoes. Anyway, boots and greaves, I think. Um, let's go through the 3 traits again. To level it up, you need seeds. To get it to +3, you need 3 seeds of all of different kind, and then +7 is 6 seeds, and then to +10 it's 9 seeds. So in total, if you want to get it to +10, that's a total of 18 seeds, which is equivalent to 9 potions. Quite expensive. um, and I think people don't really see this much as a cost, but it is a big cost. Like 9 potions is a lot. And yeah, sure. The nature boots or the nature footwear does increase your seed drop chance, but it's I don't think it's enough to warrant like 9 potions being wasted. Okay. Yeah, 9 potions being wasted. And the problem with this one too is leveling it up doesn't actually increase the amount of charges it has. All it does is it basically increases the recharge time of the artifact. So we haven't talked about the other traits too. So how many charges does this boots starts nature footwear start out as? Starts out at 0. And that's very bad because the cheapest speed is 12%, and it's quite difficult to get it to 12%. You have to really be trying, or you have to hope that the enemy doesn't trample on grass too much, and water levels can just mean you don't get that many charges. You get like 3% charge on that entire floor because the whole floor is flooded, and that's quite bad. It's very hard to recharge this artifact. I think maybe normally it would just be like 12% per floor. I think if I'm being generous, like so it's I don't know. I think it's quite difficult to recharge. Um, and oh yeah, I haven't talked about the recharge method. You have to trample on grass in order to recharge this artifact. So you don't always have like grass is a limited resource in this game unless you have regrowth or something or your huntress. Um, so yeah, it's just quite hard to recharge this. But the effects are quite powerful. If you played around with seeds, you'll know that the effects of seeds are quite powerful. I think my favorite is the blindweed seed and the fade leaf seed because they cost 12 charges or 12% of the boots. Um, and yeah, as you can see, like those are the cheapest ones. Some of the powerful ones are also uh, Swift Thistle, which all of these cost 20. Swift Thistle, um, I think Ice Cap is also great. It's an AoE freeze. Um, what else? I guess the damage per turn is also good. Like fire and the what's it called? The poison one. Um, and you can also turn this into healing. Like you can use Sungrass, but that one costs 80%. So the advantages of this is it's quite versatile. You can kind of do uh, it can kind of be anything. It can be, you know, blind and cripple. It can be teleport. It can be healing even. So it's almost like Chalice if you want, but you can change it to I don't know. You can change it to something like an armband, but it's just really slow at charging. So I think all of these together, it all comes down to the recharge time. Um, if you're a monk who has artifact recharge, this is quite good. If you're rogue, you have the meal talent that gives you mystical energy. It can make use of it more. Like rogue can make use of this artifact more. But other than that, I think this is like obviously this is still good. It's still good to have. But relatively speaking, I think this is one of the worst artifacts. Um, and so yeah, I would put this in D tier. I know some people will disagree with this, but it's just too slow. Um, and the fact that uh, water levels just make this not recharge at all, that's terrible. Okay, Talisman. Um, Talisman. There's a lot of people who love this artifact. A lot of people hate this artifact. I think it's a good artifact, but is it a strong artifact? Well, in this game, um, traps are one of the sources of unavoidable damage. Like, just completely unfair sometimes. You get shocking trap into a range enemy and you just die. Um, stuff like that. Um, it's just terrible. But at the same time, is it doing that much? let's start with the three traits I was talking about. So, how do you level this up? Well, you level it up through discovering hidden traps and doors and um, items. Like if you scry into an undiscovered item, you can level this up. Some tips for this to level up: you can scry the shop to easily gain one free level. Usually, you can use in Tengu's first phase. You can use the traps to level this one up as well. Um, so yeah, those are some cool tricks you can do with this artifact. And how many charges does it start out with? It's 0 charges. But I don't think that matters too much because it's quite easy to recharge this artifact. It recharges through time, and also um, if you discover hidden doors and stuff, hidden traps. This one, as long as you didn't use Scry, it will recharge this artifact. So it's quite easy to recharge this. Um, so yeah, I talked about detecting traps. Um, there's also some niche uses for it, like um, in the crystal. I think it crystal path room. I think in the crystal path room, you can see whether it's the transmutation or the XP potion. Um, you can also use this to um, kind of scout what's behind the door, see if there's like any enemies behind. It's eventually this becomes like a magic mapping. It's quite strong if you can get it to that level. It also gives mind vision on enemies, so it's quite good synergy with like say disintegration mod, where disintegration can just shoot through walls and stuff, or a whip. Um, but I think it's not impactful enough. This is just my opinion. I think it's just not impactful enough with real threats, right? Yes, you can use Talisman to know that there's a blazing crab or something, which is really good, but it's not giving you output. For example, Chalice gives you HP, it gives you output. Chains, you can pull stuff into chasms, that's output. You're one-shotting enemies. Um, like a lot of these just give output. I guess toolkit doesn't give output, but this one doesn't give output. It just helps you avoid damage. It gives you information, and if you use that information correctly, you can avoid damage. So it's like an indirect way to it's an indirect output kind of, but it's not giving you distance. Look at this. This one gives you distance. This one gives you distance. This. Possibly this one, depending on your hero. This one also gives you distance. This one does not give you distance. If you're in a pinch, this one is not doing anything for you. So I think this should go in D tier or C tier. I'll put it in C tier for now. But if you think about it, early game, this is not really doing much for you. You'd much rather have a Chalice. You'd much rather have even toolkit, even maybe even this. I don't know. I think this one's too hard to recharge to make much good use of. But I think like I don't know, this is just not doing enough in the early game, which is why I put it in the C tier. Okay, now Hourglass. Timekeeper's Hourglass. This is I think this is one of the best artifacts. Timekeeper's Hourglass. Hourglass. Let's talk about the three traits. How do you level? So how does it recharge? I keep forgetting the order, but like okay, how does it recharge? It recharges by time. Really good trait. How does it? How many charges does it start out with? It starts out with 5 out of 5. Really good trait. Now, how do you level this thing up? It costs money, and money is quite valuable. So I would say this is in one of the harder ones to level up because I think the cost is quite big. At the same time, it's giving you how many charges is it giving you? It's giving you one extra charge and better recharging time. So I think in general it is worth it, but the cost is quite steep. But it's still worth it because of how powerful this artifact is. This artifact can stop time. So you have like I think 2 actions per charge. So you can move, you can throw a potion, you can drink a potion. Some actions do break from the time stop. Like I think reading a scroll breaks it, attacking breaks it, but you pretty much have like really good positioning using Hourglass and just great like action economy because you can like stop time, aqua brew, or stop time. What you call it? Reposition, uh, stuff like that. Just really good. Quite great for the range classes like Huntress. Really good early game too. You, if you're surrounded, let's say, you can just um, do the stasis. So this has 2 options. You can time stop or you can stasis. You can just stasis and usually they get off you. Sometimes it doesn't. Stasis costs 2 charges, but if you have 1 charge left, you can still stasis. So that's good. So yeah, this I think if you want to max score, this is quite good. I think the only thing that's keeping it from S tier is the upgrade cost and the fact that it doesn't provide the output. It provides you repositioning, which is very good, but it doesn't provide the output. So on Huntress though, Huntress can make use of the repositioning for output. So on Huntress, this is particularly strong, even you know, because Huntress can make use of distance and convert that into damage with her bow for free. But um, otherwise, I would say it's an A tier. It's quite good. I don't. And let's rearrange it later. once we go through all the artifacts. Okay, so we saved the worst for last, it looks like. The unstable spellbook. So, unstable spellbook. And I hate this artifact. But at the end of the day, it's an artifact, so it's still good. But let's go through the 3 traits. How does this recharge? It recharges by time. So that's good. That's a good thing. It starts out with 2 out of 2 charges. 2 is okay. At least it's not 0. But I guess that's fine. Starts out with 2 charges. Okay, how do you level this? This is like this is the worst leveling method in the entire game because you need to feed it scrolls, and those scrolls need to be identified. You need to know what the scrolls are. So first, the scrolls need to be identified. Second, scrolls are very valuable if you didn't know. You can convert scrolls into rune stones, and rune stones are really good early game. Just scrolls are really good, and you're feeding it into this artifact. Okay, you might say, well, maybe it's worth it, right? So here's the thing. This what this artifact does is when you read it, you read a random scroll. And the keyword here is random. You cannot choose what you get. That makes it extremely bad. The fact that it's random. Okay, don't get me wrong. You can pull some great scrolls, like for example, magic mapping. Magic mapping is great. Lullaby is great. But some of the common ones are remove curse and identify, both of which are just whatever. And a lot of the in order to mitigate the risks of this artifact, you want to do it after you've explored the whole floor. So magic mapping isn't even that good if you want to mitigate the bad things of this artifact. Some of the bad things are, for example, if you start out on the floor and then you read into a rage scroll, you wake up the entire floor, they all go to your position, and you're just dead unless you're a rogue. But it's really bad if you pull a rage scroll. Another thing is the teleport scroll. If you haven't explored the floor yet and you read a teleport, you might teleport into a really bad position, surrounded by enemies, and you're just dead. That's happened to me, by the way, which is why I hate this artifact. But I learned my lesson. That's not gonna happen again. I always read this artifact after I've explored the entire floor, just to mitigate those terrible low rolls. And also, a lot of the scrolls that you read, if you take into account my strategy of reading it after I've finished the entire floor, don't really do anything. Like for example, Retribution. All it does is blinds you and weakens you. Fear Scroll. Well, nothing's in your vision because you've killed the entire floor already. So, like half of the time, this artifact isn't even doing anything. And yes, it recharges by time, but it's pretty slow at it's relatively slow at recharging because it starts out at 2 charges. And here's the thing, when you level this artifact up, it doesn't. It only gives you half a charge. So in order to get one whole charge, you need to sacrifice 2 scrolls, which is like so expensive, right? Anyway, this artifact is really bad. You can get lucky with it. You can pull a lullaby like many times, but end of the day, it's RNG, and you know what I think of RNG. It's if it can't be relied on, then yeah, it's not good. So it's bottom tier artifact. Okay. Um, I'm thinking like there's nothing in B tier. Thinking of like maybe just removing one of the tiers and moving them all up like this and just deleting this. So C tier, I mean, I think they, I, I think the, I think this is fine. No, I don't think this is fine. I don't think this is fine. Hold on. How do I undo this? Ah, damn it. I don't think this is fine. Hold on. Because I don't think, man, I really don't think like Armband is as, like, I don't, it's that close. I think, I think there's just a huge rift between these two. I don't think these three deserve to share the same tier as Master Thief Armband. And Master Thief Armband is not as good as these three. I guess I guess we'll keep it like this. Okay, as for ordering, obviously S tier is by itself. The A tier is a little bit interesting. I've heard a lot of people saying that Hourglass is number 2 or even number 1. That might be that might be character dependent, but I don't think that's true. For example, I would buy Rose in the shop, but I wouldn't buy Hourglass in the shop. I mean, I would if I had a lot of money, but I think the Rose is a better artifact than maybe it's a better artifact than Hourglass. That sounds crazy. But if I think about it, Rose helps so much in the early game, much more than Hourglass. But I think Hourglass is better than Horn. Hourglass is better than Horn because it's it's like the thing is Horn is also good. But I think Hourglass is better because it's just more versatile. Horn doesn't do anything for you immediately. It's only like in the long term, like you get more food, uh, you get more, you get to activate more of your meal talents. That's when Horn is really good, and you will see. I think for Horn, you will see a lot of it, a lot of the value at the end of the game when you see like you have so many, you have so much food, and you could just have unlimited charges. Like for example, if you're cleric, like you just have unlimited charges on your book. And for those characters, like Horn is really good. It's hard to rate because Horn is so character dependent. I'll just put it here, fourth place. And then Armband is by itself. I think that's fair. Now these three are interesting because they all kind of do different things. In terms of early game, what am I most happy to see? That's also hard to ask, but I think I'm most happy to see the toolkit because I immediately have access to the alchemy pot, and that's very valuable. Like the alchemy pot power spike is the biggest in the early game. So just having this in the early game is very big, in my opinion. I know people will disagree with me on this, but it is what it is. I don't think it's the best artifact, but like some people say, but it's better than these two, at least, in my opinion. And now it's between these two. I think Chalice is better. I think Talisman early game is just not doing enough. And in Chalice, you get it to +3. It's already pretty good. It's giving you a lot of HP, and that's good enough. Whereas Talisman is not doing much for you, so that's why it's so low here. And I think D tier is obvious. Um, I mentioned my hate for this artifact, even though yes, it's good. I think the best scroll to sacrifice is the recharge scroll because you can get mystical energy from this book, but at the cost of 2 charges. But other than that, I don't think it's worth upgrading this book at all. Just keep it at +0. Just get as much value as you can from this book, and then you know toss it away once you find a better artifact or a better ring. Um, and yeah, the boots, nature boots, nature shoes, whatever. All it's good, but all it suffers from is recharging. Just terrible at recharging. And I think that's it. Um, anyway, that's gonna do it for me, and thanks for watching.